Welcome back, friends. And if this is your first night with me, welcome too. Come in, the fire is warm. Tonight we're going somewhere very particular, a small Italian village in the foothills of the Apennines. It is autumn, it is 1859. The bell tower is about to strike 11, and a man named Aldo is about to start a watch he has been keeping for 37 years. Tonight you will be that watchman, and in the dark of his small village, you will be walking beside something he has been seeing and never quite reaching for 3 decades. The game I'm playing tonight is new for the world and new for me. It's called Vampire Crawlers, released this April from Ponkel, the small studio that made Vampire Survivors. I haven't touched it before tonight. I've been reading about it for the last few weeks. The reviews said the same things mostly. People said the pixel art was beautiful. They said the music, Yoko Shimomura, is on the soundtrack, that the music had a melancholy in it that fit the world. They said the world was specific, 19th century Italian countryside, the same world as Vampire Survivors, but slower, quieter, with more time to look around. When I read those things, I knew which story to tell tonight, because we are also in 19th century Italian countryside. We are in 1859, in a small village called Valdoria, with a watchman who has been hunting a kind of shadow for 31 years. The game and the story are the same world. That doesn't always happen. Tonight it does. I'm playing this for the first time, so forgive me if I move slowly, or take a wrong turn, or read a card I should have remembered. I'll be discovering the game while you discover the story. The game is the company. The story is the work. One small thing before we begin. If this is your first night here, and many of you are first nights lately, and I am grateful for that. The channel is small, and a subscribe helps it find another listener somewhere in the dark. A like on this video the same. A word in the comments. Anything. Even just where you are tonight. What time it is on your clock. That is what I read in the morning when I wake. That is the company on this side of it. Now, enough of me. Let us take a breath. Set the day down somewhere. Let the room get quiet. The fire is small in the village square. The bell tower is silent. The wind has come down from the hills. Listen. Tonight, you are the night watchman of Valdoria, a small village in the foothills of the Apennines. You have walked these streets for 37 years. And tonight, the bell has just struck 11. And Bruno, the old dog who has walked beside you since he was small, has stopped. His ears are forward. He has heard something you have not heard yet. You stand still. You let him listen. When you have spent half your life on the watch, you learn to trust the things that hear before you do. Bruno's grey muzzle lifts, his old body stiffer now than it used to be, slower in the cold, holds itself very still. You turn the lamp down a little. The square is empty. The cobblestones still hold a small warmth from the day, but only just. Above the village, the bell tower is silent again. The 11 strikes have died into the dark. You count to 10 in your head, then 20. Bruno's ears are still forward. Then, slowly, they soften. Whatever it was, it has passed, or it has chosen to wait. Va bene, you say to him low. Va bene, amico mio. Bruno looks up, his eyes milky now around the edges, the way old dogs' eyes go in their last good years. Find yours. You crouch. Your knee complains, the way it has complained every winter for a decade now. You ignore it. You scratch behind his ear, the way you have done 10,000 times. He leans into your hand and gives a small, settled sigh. You straighten. The cold in the square is just enough to make your breath visible. You have walked these streets for 37 years. You know every cobblestone. You know which doors stick in winter and which stay loose in summer. You know whose chimney smokes too much, whose lamp burns too late, whose shutters never quite close. You know who lost a child to fever, who lost a husband to the sea, and who simply lost themselves to time. And tonight, you are walking these streets again, the way you walked them last night, and the night before, and the year before that, and the decade before that. Thaldoria is asleep. Thaldoria does not know what walks beside its bell tower at midnight. Most of it anyway. Your boots are old leather, soft from a lifetime of nights. They make almost no sound on the cobblestones. You have learned over the years to walk without sound. It is part of the watch. You pass the fountain in the center of the square, the one Donna Carla scrubs every morning, even now, even at her age. The water is still moving, very slowly. You pass the closed shutters of the bakery. Federico will be up in 3 hours. The smell of his bread will fill the square at 4. You will be tired by then. You will go home. You will sleep through the morning. This is your rhythm. This has always been your rhythm. Bruno walks just behind your right boot, where he has walked for almost his whole life. He is 12 this winter. 12 is old for a big dog. You know this. You do not think about it often. The lamp in your hand throws a small circle of orange light onto the stones in front of you. Beyond that, the dark. You like the dark. You have spent more of your life in it than out of it. Come, walk with us. The watch has begun. Every village has a small place that belongs to its watchman. And Thal'doria's small place is a stone nook beside the bell tower, where a fire burns through the night. It is your fire. You light it every night you are on the watch, which is most nights if we are honest. You do not have a wife to come home to. You do not have children waiting up. The fire is your home between rounds. You walk to it now. The iron grate is rust-eaten in places, blackened from 40 years of small fires. The wood you laid an hour ago has burned down to good red coals. You add a single piece of pine, and it catches almost at once, with that small dry sigh that pine wood makes. Bruno settles beside the fire with a long theatrical groan, the way he has groaned every night for the last few winters. He is good at making his old age dramatic. Yes, you say to him low, I know. We are both very old now, you and I. He thumps his tail once against a stone, as if to say, do not exaggerate. You sit on the worn wooden bench. There is a thermos beside it, old dented copper, a gift from somebody many years ago, whose name you would now have to think about. Your tea is in there. You pour a little into the small cup. The steam climbs up into the cold air and is gone. You hold the cup in both hands for a moment, just for the warmth. The wind comes down off the hills and finds the back of your neck. You pull your cloak a little tighter. Above you, the bell tower rises into a sky thick with stars. The Apennines are long shadows behind it, older than this village, older than the road that leads here, older than any name we have for them. Somewhere very far up the valley, a single dog barks once, then nothing. You drink. The tea is bitter the way you like it. You watch the fire for a long moment, the way men watch fires when they have nowhere they have to be. Bruno is already snoring, very quietly. You have done this for 37 years. You will do it for as many more as you are given. Before we walk again, let me sit with you here for just a moment longer. If this story has kept you company tonight, even a little, if it has helped you slow down, breathe out, set the day down somewhere, I would be grateful if you would let the channel know. A subscribe, a small heart on the like button, a word in the comments. Any of those things helps a quiet story like this one find another listener somewhere out there in the dark. And while you are there, tell me where you are tonight. What city, what country, what hour it is on your clock. I love knowing who else is awake when Aldo is awake. Some of you are at midnight. Some of you are in the early afternoon, half listening at work. Some of you are far past 2 in the morning, when the world is at its softest. Wherever you are welcome on this watch. The fire has room. Now the cup is half empty. Bruno is dreaming about a rabbit probably. The fire will last another hour, easily. Let us put the cup down. Let us walk again. You set the cup down on the bench. Bruno opens one eye, considers the situation, closes it again. Get up, lazy one, you say. It is early yet. He sighs in the way only old dogs sigh, the sigh of someone who has been asked to do something tiresome 1,000 times and will do it anyway because he loves you. He gets up. His back legs are slow these days. He stretches them out one at a time. You wait for him. You always wait for him. Together you leave the small fire and step into the narrow street that runs east from the square, between the tall stone houses. The walls almost touch overhead. The street smells of wood smoke and old rain, and a little of horses from the stable 2 streets over. All the shutters are closed, all the lamps are out. There is only your lamp and your boots, and Bruno's quiet pools on the stones. You pass the door of the carpenter, Tommaso. He works late most nights, but tonight his window has been dark since after the bell at 10. He is sleeping. Good. He needed to. His wife has been sick for months. Chest, the doctor said, though the doctor in Valdoria says chest for nearly everything. You pass a small house where the widow Bianchi lives alone with her 3 cats. One of the cats, the grey one, the bad-tempered one, is sitting in her window, watching you pass. Its eyes catch the lamp for a moment, then it looks away, the way cats do, as if you were never there. You walk on. At the corner where the street turns toward the small piazza of St. Joseph, Bruno stops fully. Not the small pulls he makes when he is sniffing something interesting on a wall. A different kind of stop. The kind where his body becomes still, in a way you have learned to read. You stop with him. You do not move the lamp. You do not turn your head. You just stand. He is looking down the cross street, toward the lower part of the village, toward the houses that lean against the western wall, where Donna Lucia lives, in a small house with a garden full of roses, where 2 streets further down, the road runs out into the orchards and then into the hills. His ears are forward. The grey hair on the back of his neck is up just a little. Not much, but enough. You have known this dog for 12 years. You know what enough means on him. You crouch, slowly because the knee, and you put your hand on his shoulder. He is shaking a very little, not from cold. He has not shivered from cold in years. His coat is too thick for that. What is it, Bruno? You say very quietly. What did you hear? He does not look at you. He keeps looking down the cross street. After a long moment you stand. Your knee makes its small private complaint. You ignore it. You turn the lamp down even further, so that the light is just enough to see the next 2 cobblestones, and no more. Andiamo, you say. Let us look. You start down the cross street, and Bruno comes with you, walking very close to your right boot now. Closer than usual, the way he used to walk when he was a puppy, before he learned that he was a big dog, and the world should walk around him. The cobblestones slope down here, and the stones are slightly damp. There is no wind in this street. Even the air seems to be holding still. You walk. Halfway down the cross street you see it. The garden gate of Donna Lucia is open. Not pushed wide, not broken, just open, by the width of a man's shoulders. You know this gate. You have known it for 30 years. Donna Lucia closes it every evening before the sun goes down. She closes it the same way her mother closed it before her, with the same small iron bolt, with the same small grumble about the rust. The bolt is loose, it does not lock, but she always pulls the gate fully shut, always. You stand for a moment in the street. Bruno is very still beside you. You did not know what you would find tonight when you put on your cloak 2 hours ago, but part of you, in the way old men know things, knew it would be something. You step forward. The gate creaks a small creak when your hand touches it. The hinge is older than you are. You push it open the rest of the way. The garden is small. You have seen it in summer, full of roses climbing the wall, climbing the trellis Donna Lucia built herself the year her husband died, 22 years ago. You have seen it in winter, there in grey and waiting. You see it now in late autumn, in moonlight, the last of the roses brown on the canes. She is on the small flagstones near her door. You know it is her even before you raise the lamp. You know the shape of her shawl. You know the small white braid that she always wore down her back at night. The braid she let down only after the village had gone to sleep. She is on her side, one hand reaching but only a little, as if she had been turning towards something, as if she had heard a sound and turned to look. You walk to her, you crouch beside her. Your knee, you do not feel it now. You will feel it later. She is cold, not yet stiff, cold the way a stone in shadow is cold at the end of the day. You look at her face. Her eyes are closed. That is something. Sometimes, and you have seen this, they are open. Donna Lucia, you say, just to say her name once. In this garden, while you are still the only one here, you look at her throat. 2 marks, small, close together. The skin around them is white the way the skin around old wounds goes white. The blood, there is almost none. You have seen this before. You have seen this 6 times in 31 years. You take off your cloak. It is an old cloak, dark wool, heavy from years of nights. You put it over her. Not over her face, never over the face. She would not have wanted that, but over her shoulders, the way you would cover a sleeping woman who had grown cold by the fire. You take her hand, you fold her fingers in. They fold easily, like the fingers of someone only just gone. You sit beside her for a moment. Just a moment. The cobblestones in the garden are damp under your knee. Bruno comes forward very slowly. He does not approach her. He sits at the edge of the flagstones watching. He understands. He has seen this before too. Riposa vecchia amica, you say very low. Rest, old friend. You think quickly about what to do. You cannot carry her, not at your age, not alone, not at this hour. You should not move her. The morning will come. The neighbors will find her. The priest will be sent for. The grave will be dug. This is the way it goes. This is the way it has gone. 6 times in 31 years. You stand, you ache. You close the gate behind you when you leave, fully, the way she would have closed it. and you turn and you stand for a moment in the cross street with Bruno beside you. Now there is the rest of the night. You stand in the cross street with your old dog and the closed gate behind you, and you do not move for a long moment. You are not crying. You will not cry. You did your crying for Donna Lucia a long time ago, the way old men do, quietly, in the back of the throat, on the nights when you knew this would happen one day. You think instead, because thinking is what you have instead of crying, about the first time. His name was Marco, or was it Matteo? My memory now. Some nights it is sharp like a young man's. Some nights it slips. He was the shepherd's son, I remember that. I remember he had hair the colour of wheat, and one of his front teeth was a little crooked, and he laughed the way young men laugh when they think they have a great deal of time. He was the first. 31 years ago, near the end of October, they found him on the eastern road, just past where the orchards end, and the ground begins to climb toward the hills. I was 30 years old then. I had been the watchman of Valdoria for 6 years. Before that, I had been in another country, in a war that I do not speak about, that no one in this village asks me about, because they are kind people, and they understood, even then, that it had taken something out of me that does not come back. When I came home, my mother had been dead for a year. My father was already gone before that. There was no one waiting. The village gave me the watch because the old watchman, Lepe, was tired and his eyes were going. They gave me the lamp. They gave me the bench by the fire. They gave me the night. It was the kindest thing anyone had ever done for me. I have tried to repay it for 37 years. So, Marco or Matteo, they found him in the morning. The shepherd, his father, found him. I was there an hour later. I was a young watchman then. I did not know what I was looking at. I saw the marks. I did not understand them. The doctor said it was a wolf. There were wolves in the hills then. There are still wolves in the hills now. The doctor was a kind man and a careful man, and he had nothing else he could put in his report. So he wrote, wolf. But 3 nights later, in the cemetery, when I was making my round past the church, the way I always did, the way I always do, I saw something I had not seen before. A figure by the wall, standing very still. When I raised the lamp, he turned his face toward me. I will never forget that face. Not the features. The features I cannot quite hold. They slide away when I try, the way a name slides away. But the look of someone who has seen me and recognized me and is not afraid. I ran. I was 30 years old and my knees worked and I ran. He did not run. He did not even walk. He was simply gone. By the time I reached the wall, there was nothing there but the cold and the moss and the names of the dead. I told no one. Who would I have told? Anselmo was still in the monastery then. The priest at the time, old Don Giacomo, may he rest, would have said it was a dream, the dream of a young man who had come back from a war. He would have been kind about it. He would have offered me wine. So I told no one, and I went home and I did not sleep. And the next night I went back on the watch. That was 31 years ago. I have seen him, or it, or whatever the right word is, perhaps 20 times since then. Always at a distance, always when I moved toward him, gone, always near the cemetery, or near a house where someone has just died, or twice, outside my own small house, standing in the lane, waiting. He has never come closer. I have never gotten closer. Tonight makes 7. Donna Lucia is the 7th. We should keep walking, Bruno and I. There is more night left. You bend down, slowly with the knee, and you put your hand on Bruno's head. He leans his old grey muzzle into your palm. Andiamo, amico mio, you say. We will go to Anselmo. He will be awake. He is always awake. He will pour the wine. We will sit. He will open the books. Bruno gives you a look that is, you think, the look of a dog who would prefer to be back beside the fire, but also a look that says, I will go where you go. I have always gone where you go. I will go this last time, and the next time, and the time after that, until I cannot any more. Yes, you say, I know. The fire was nice. The fire will still be there. You walk up the cross street, away from Donna Lucia's gate. Bruno comes with you. You do not look back. There is a discipline to not looking back on this kind of night. The dead are dead. The morning will come. The watch is for the living. The way to Anselmo's Inn runs along the western edge of the village, past the small cemetery and the old church of St. Joseph, then up a slight slope to where the road begins to climb toward the orchards. You take the long way. You take the long way on purpose. You do not want to walk past the cemetery yet. Not yet. There will be time, so you go up through the baker's lane, where the smell of yesterday's bread still clings to the stones, and across the small square where the goose merchant, Pietro, keeps his cart in the daytime. The cart is there, empty, leaning against the wall. The geese are asleep somewhere out behind his house. You pass the well that the village shares, the deep one that gives sweet water even in summer, that they say was dug by the Romans and used by every village that has stood here since. There has been a village here for 2,000 years. There has been a watchman here for as long as there have been nights. You like to think that. It helps on a night like tonight. Bruno stops by the well, not to listen this time, but to drink. There is a small puddle around the base where the bucket has spilled. He laps at it for a moment. You wait. You watch and drink. You think, the way you think every winter now. How many more winters? Then you stop yourself thinking it, because thinking it does not change it. You only have so many winters with him. You have only so many winters with anything. The work on a night like tonight is to stay in the winter you are in. He finishes drinking. He looks up at you. His muzzle is wet. Bene, you say, andiamo. The lane up toward Anselmo's inn climbs gently. Your knee tells you about it. Your back tells you about it. Bruno does not tell you anything. He has stopped complaining about hills, the way he stopped complaining about most things, somewhere around his 9th winter. He just walks. He just keeps walking. He has always known that the only real answer to a hill is to keep walking up it. You think, and not for the first time, that he has been a better watchman than you all these years. He has just been quieter about it. Up ahead, the inn comes into view. There is a single lamp burning in the front window. There is always a single lamp burning after midnight, because Anselmo has not slept a full night since he was very young in the monastery, when they started him on the night office. You walk toward the lamp. The inn of Anselmo is small. He has only 4 rooms upstairs, and only sometimes are any of them taken. He does not advertise. People come because they hear of him from other people, or because they get caught in a storm and need a roof, or because they are old friends like you, walking up a lane at 1 in the morning with a watchman's lamp and a tired dog. You cross the small yard. The door is iron-bound oak. You tap it twice, with your knuckles low, a rhythm you and Anselmo have used for 20 years. 2 soft taps, then a pause, then 1. He knows it is you before he reaches the door. You hear his step inside. He walks away. Men who lived too long in monasteries walk, slowly, evenly, as if he were still in a corridor of stone, as if he was still trying not to wake the brothers. The bolt slides back. The door opens. He stands in the doorway with his lamp in his hand. He is tall. He has always been tall, even bent now the way old men of a certain height go bent, the spine giving up an inch a year. He is still the tallest man in the village. His hair is white. His eyes are pale grey and very awake. He looks at your face, just at your face. He does not say anything for a moment. Then he says softly, "Aldo." You nod. He says, "Come in." You step into the front room. It smells of wood smoke and old wine, and the small dust of books. A fire is burning low in the hearth. There are 2 chairs near it, and a small table. The room is empty otherwise. The 4 guest rooms upstairs are dark. He has no one tonight. Bruno walks past Anselmo without looking up at him. He has known Anselmo since he was a puppy. He goes directly to the rug in front of the hearth. Anselmo's rug, the old red one, and lies down on it with the full weight of a tired dog who has earned a rug. Anselmo closes the door behind you. He bolts it. He sets his lamp on the table. He looks at you again. He says, "Who?" Not a question exactly. A word he has had to ask before. You take off your hat. You hold it in your hands. "Donna Lucia," you say. He does not say anything for a moment. He closes his eyes, the eyes of an old monk, closing the way they close at the end of a prayer. He opens them. He says, "God keep her." You nod, you wait. He walks past you into the small back kitchen. You hear him put a pot on the iron, the small copper pot, the one he uses for the spiced wine. You hear him pour. You hear the small clink of the cinnamon stick going in. He has done this for you 6 times before. Tonight is the 7th. You sit down in the chair nearest the fire. You put your hands toward the heat. They are cold from Donna Lucia's garden. They are old hands, and the cold has gone into them deeply. Anselmo comes back with 2 small cups. He hands you one. The wine is hot. You can smell the cinnamon and the clove and a little orange peel. He sits in the other chair. He says, "Drink." You drink. The wine warms you all the way down. He drinks. He sets his cup down. He says very quietly, "How long since the last one?" You think for a moment. 4 years, you say. A little more. The boy from the mill. He nods, he remembers. He remembers them all, the way you do. He says, "And tonight is the same." You say the same. He gets up. He walks to the wall behind his chair, where the small bookshelf is. He stands in front of it for a moment, his hand moving along the spines. You watch him, you drink your wine. Bruno snores, the fire ticks. This is also the watch. This too. This kitchen, this fire. This old friend who knows the names of all the books. This is part of it. You did not understand that when you were 30. You understand it now. Anselmo pulls a book down. It is a brown book, leather. The leather worn at the corners. He carries it back to his chair. He sits. He sets it on his lap. He does not open it yet. He says, "Aldo, I will tell you again what I have told you before. I will tell you again because tonight you need to hear it again. And then I will tell you the new thing, because there is a new thing. There is something I have been reading." You nod, you drink, you wait. He opens a book. The pages are thin and yellowed. He turns to a place near the middle that has a small ribbon laid in it. He says, "In Romania, in Transylvania, in Wallachia, in the high villages where the language is older than Latin, they have a word. They have many words for it, but the one that comes back the most, the one in the books and on the lips of the priests, is strigoi." He says it carefully. Strigoi. He says, "The strigoi is a soul that does not stay where the dead stay. It comes back. It comes back wearing the body it had in life, or close enough that those who knew it know it. It comes back at night. It walks to the houses of the people it loved in life. It scratches at the windows. It calls the names of children. It drinks. You watch the fire. You have heard this before. You always listen as if you have not. He says, in the old villages when someone died, especially someone who had died badly or angry or unsaid, they would do certain things. They would put thorns in the coffin. They would tie the wrists. They would put a coin on the mouth. They would close the windows of the house for 9 days. They would not speak the name of the dead at night, because to speak the name of the dead at night was to cool them. He says, these were not stories the priest liked. The priest said, the dead are with God. The dead do not return. But the villagers, the old villagers, knew what they had seen, and they kept doing the things. You think of Donna Lucia. You think of her braid down her back, her hands in the soil of her garden, her small voice when she greeted you in the mornings. Buongiorno, Alda. The roses say hello. She said that every spring. The roses say hello. You think very quickly, very privately, about whether she had said anything unsaid, whether she had died angry. You decide that she had not. Donna Lucia had been a woman who said the things that needed saying. She had buried her husband 22 years ago, and she had said her goodbye, and she had come home, and she had grown her roses. There was nothing unsaid in her. You hope that is enough. Anselmo turns a page. He says, there are several kinds of strigoi. There is the strigoi viu, the living one, the witch who walks in spirit. There is the strigoi mort, the dead one, the body that has come back. The one we are speaking of is the strigoi mort. He says, in the old books, the strigoi mort feeds on those who knew him in life. He feeds on his own family first, then his neighbors, then the village. He does not range far. He stays close to where he died, and where he is buried, and where he was loved. He looks up at you. He says, Aldo. He stays close. You feel the warmth of the wine in your chest. You feel the old familiar question rising, the question you have been turning in the back of your mind, the 31 years. Then who, you say very quietly, is ours? Anselmo closes the book gently, with his finger marking the page. He says, that is the new thing. Anselmo gets up. He goes to the bookshelf again. This time he stands longer. His hand passes over several spines before it finds a one. He pulls it down, a smaller book, dark blue, with no writing on the spine that you can see from where you sit. He says, there was a man in Serbia, a peasant man, in a village in the east, near where the river Sava bends north. His name was Peter Blagojevich. The year was 1725. He carries the book back to his chair. He sits, he says. Blagojevich died of a fever. He was buried in the way of his village. 2 days later, his son came home in the evening and found him sitting at the kitchen table. The father asked the son for food. The son gave him bread. The father ate the bread. Then the father walked out. The son told no one. He was frightened, and he thought he had dreamed it. 3 nights later, the son was found dead in his own bed. He says, in the next 8 days, 9 more people in that village died. All of them at night. All of them with marks on the throat. All of them, before they died, said the same thing, that Blagojevich had come to their bedside, and he had been heavy on their chest, and they had not been able to wake. He turns a page. The page is full of close handwriting in Latin, with notes in the margins in his own hand. He says, the villagers wrote to the local Habsburg officer. The Habsburg officer was an Austrian and an educated man, and he did not believe in such things. He came to the village to put the matter to rest with reason. He brought a priest. He brought a cleric. They opened the grave of Blagojevich in front of the village in the daylight so that everyone could see. He says, the body, and I am reading from the report now, the report the Austrian wrote himself. The body was unchanged. After 8 days in the ground, with the cold of January around it, the body was unchanged. The hair had grown a little. The fingernails had grown. The eyes were open. The mouth was open. There was, and this is the line I always come back to, there was fresh blood on the lips. You drink slowly. He says, the villagers drove a stake of hawthorn through the heart. They burned the body. The deaths in the village stopped that night. He looks up at you, he says. The Austrian officer wrote his report to Vienna. He could not explain what he had seen. He was an honest man, and he wrote what he had seen, and he wrote that he could not explain it. The report is still in the archives in Vienna. I have a copy of the relevant pages. They are here. He taps the book gently. You think for a long moment. The fire ticks. Bruno makes a small dreaming sound. A chase dream, perhaps. His pool moves. You say, the fresh blood on the lips. He says, yes. You say, Donna Lucia is the 7th. He says, yes. You say, in 31 years, Anselmo. He says, I know. That is the new thing. That is what I have been wanting to tell you. Blagojevich killed 9 in 8 days. Whoever this is, whatever this is, does not kill in 8 days. He kills in years. 1 every 4 or 5 years, sometimes longer. He is patient. You sit with that word, patient. You say very low, and what does that mean? He says, it means he is not feeding to live. It means he is feeding for some other reason, or feeding very little, or, he hesitates, he has chosen this village, and he is not in a hurry. You drink the rest of your wine. and Salmo refills your cup and his own without asking. The kitchen smells now of cinnamon and clove and wood smoke. The fire has burned down a little, but the coals are still good, and the small light fills the room enough. He says, there is an older story than Plagojevic's, older by 300 years, from the Carpathians. He sits back down. He does not open the book this time. He has the story in his head. He has told you parts of it before, but he is careful tonight. He tells it slowly. He says, there was a prince of Wallachia named Vlad, the third Vlad. His father had been Vlad Dracul, Vlad the dragon, because he had been made a knight of a Christian order with a dragon for its sign. So the son was Vlad Draculia, son of the dragon. The peasants who were not careful with names came to call him simply Draculia, and then Dracula. He says, he fought the Turks. He fought them all his life. He fought them with armies sometimes when he had armies, when he did not have armies, and he often did not. He fought them with terror. He impaled their dead and their living and their messengers on stakes around his cities, the forests of stakes. There were songs about it. There were paintings about it. There were nightmares about it, all over Europe, for 100 years. He says he died in 1476, or he was reported to have died. The report was confused. The body was said to have been buried at the monastery of Snegov, on an island in a lake. When the monastery was opened, long after, 200 years later, to look for the bones of Vlad, there were no bones. There was an empty place in the floor. The monks who lived there at the time said the bones had been moved long ago by other monks for safety. They could not say where. He says the peasants of the Carpathians, however, had their own version. They said he had not died at all. They said he had been bitten in one of his last battles by a thing in the forest, a thing that had been taking the dead from the battlefield at night, drinking what was left in them. They said he had been brought back as a strigoi. They said he was still in the mountains. They said you could see him sometimes on the high passes, on the nights of certain saints. They said he no longer had armies. They said he no longer needed them. And Salmo pauses. He drinks. He looks at the fire. He says, the peasants are usually wrong about their princes. The peasants are not usually wrong about their dead. You listen, you think, and you do not say that you have not been to the Carpathians. You have been only to the war that took you, far from here, and to this village, and to the road between them. The Carpathians are a name. Wallachia is a name. Vlad is a name from a book. But the figure in the cemetery is not a name. The figure in the cemetery is something you have seen with your own eyes, at 12 different angles, over 31 years. You say, you think they are connected. He says, I think the world has more things in it than the books admit. And I think, when one of them is in your village, it is not useful to ask whether it is the famous one. It is only useful to ask what you can do. He looks at you. The fire is in his pale grey eyes. He says, And we do not know, Aldo, what you can do. After 31 years, we do not know. You nod, you drink. The wine has gone slightly cooler. You drink it anyway. Anselmo gets up again. He goes to a smaller shelf, a shelf that holds books in English and French, books he was given many years ago by a young Englishman who stayed at the inn for a winter and never came back for them. He pulls down a thin book. He sits. He sets it on the table between you. He says, "There is a more recent story. 40 years ago, in 1819, an Englishman wrote it. A young doctor, a young, unhappy doctor, named John Polidori. He was Lord Byron's physician. Do you remember Lord Byron? You nod, you remember the name. You do not remember much else. You were a soldier when Byron's poems were the fashion in the cities. Soldiers did not read much." He says, Polidori was with Byron at a villa in Switzerland. The summer there was no summer. The year of the cold. The year the volcano in the east, Tambora, had darkened the sky. They were stuck inside. They told ghost stories. Mary Shelley wrote her Frankenstein that summer. And Polidori wrote a story called The Vampire. He says, it was the first story of its kind in our language. The vampire in it is not a peasant strigoi from a Serbian village. He is an aristocrat. He is charming. He travels. He moves through the salons of London. He drinks the women he loves. He cannot be killed by ordinary means. He says, it is fiction, of course. Polidori was a writer of fiction, and he made a writer's vampire. But he was a doctor. He had read the older books, the old folk reports, the old village stories. He had read them carefully, and the things in his story that are most disturbing are the things he did not invent, the things he found in the old reports. He turns the thin book in his hands. He says, the crossing of thresholds, the need to be invited, the way the body does not show its real age, the way the eyes hold the lamp without flinching, the way the figure recedes when pursued without seeming to move. You feel the wine very slightly in your blood. You say, the way he recedes when pursued. Anselmo says yes. You say, I have run, Anselmo, many times. I am not as fast as I once was, but I was fast enough once. He is not faster than me exactly. He is already gone. He is somewhere else by the time I reach the place where he was. Anselmo nods slowly. He says, there is a line that has come to me from his pages. Or perhaps it is mine, after 30 years of reading him. I no longer know that he moved as smoke moves, between the moment of the breath and the moment of the reaching. You sit with that for a long time. You think of the figure in the cemetery, all those nights at all those distances. You think of the moments where you had been sure you would reach him, and he had simply not been there. You had thought of yourself at 30 as fast. You had thought of yourself at 40 as still capable. You had stopped thinking of yourself as either sometime around 50. But it was never about your speed. It had never been about your speed. He was not running. He was something else. Anselmo says very gently, "You have been chasing a kind of smoke, my friend, for 31 years. And you are still here. And the village is still here. And that is something." You say nothing. You take Anselmo's hand for a moment on the table. The hand of an old monk, thin, dry, warm from the wine cup. He squeezes back, then you both let go. Anselmo says, "There is one more thing, the thing you have always asked me, and the thing I have never been able to answer well. The protections." He says the old books are full of them. Most of them are folk things. Some of them may have been useful to peasants in some Serbian village in 1725. And some of them are, I think, what we tell ourselves to feel less afraid. I will tell you what they say, then I will tell you what I think. He counts on his fingers slowly. He says garlic, hung at the windows, at the doors, around the neck of the sick. The strigoi cannot abide it. Hawthorn, the wood, the thorn. A stake of hawthorn through the heart, pinning the body to the grave. Iron, iron at the threshold, iron in the soil of the gardens. Silver, silver crucifixes, silver coins on the eyes of the dead. Salt, a line of salt at the door, a circle of salt at the bed. He says, and the threshold above all. The strigoi cannot enter a house unless he is invited. He stands outside the door. He calls, he pleads. He makes the voice of someone you loved. But he cannot cross until you let him cross. This is the one I find most consistent across the books. From the Romanians, from the Serbs, from the Slovaks. Even Polidori uses it. The threshold. He looks at you. He says Donna Lucia was in her garden. Aldo. She was outside her house. Outside her threshold. You feel a cold in your chest that the wine cannot reach. You say, the gate was open. He says the gate is not the threshold. The door is the threshold. She had stepped outside to, perhaps, see who was there. You think of Donna Lucia, who was a polite woman, who would have heard a voice at her gate at midnight, and would have thought first of a neighbor in trouble, who would have stepped outside her door into her own garden with her braid down her back to see who was calling. You close your eyes for a moment. You open them, you drink. Anselmo says, and now, what I think. He says, Aldo, I have read these books for 30 years. I have read them more carefully than most priests. And I do not know how much of any of it is true. I think some of it is true. I think the figure you have seen is real. I have not seen him. You have. I trust your eyes. I trust your 31 years. But the protections, the garlic and the salt and the silver, I cannot tell you they will work. The peasants of Serbia thought they worked. Perhaps they did in 1725. Perhaps the strigoi of 1725 was a different creature than this thing of ours. Perhaps every village has its own. Perhaps the rules in one village are not the rules in another. He looks at you with great kindness. He says, "What I know is, you have walked these streets for 37 years, and the village is still here. You have not stopped him, but you have not let him take more than he has taken. He has taken 7 in 31 years. Aldo, there are villages in the Carpathians where the Strigoi takes 7 in a winter. You have done something. You have done something real, even if neither of us can say exactly what it is." You set your cup down. The fire ticks. Bruno snores. The village is silent around the inn. You say, "Thank you, old friend." He says, "Drink the rest of your wine." You drink the rest of your wine. You stand. Your knee complains, your back complains. Anselmo stands too, slowly, with the same small careful sounds old men make when they get up at 3 in the morning. He says, "You are going to the cemetery." You say, "I am going to the cemetery." He nods. He does not argue. He has not argued with you about this in 20 years. He learned sometime in the 2nd decade that there was no point. He goes to a small drawer in the table by the door. He opens it. He takes out a small object and puts it in your hand. It is a silver crucifix on the chain. The metal is dark with age. He says, "I am not telling you it will work. I am only telling you to wear it tonight." You put it around your neck. The chain is short. The cross hangs just above your collarbone, against the wool of your shirt. You can feel the cold of the silver settle against your chest. Anselmo says, "Bring Bruno home." You say, "I always do." He puts his hand on your shoulder for a moment, the hand of an old monk, the hand of an old friend. He says, "Buonanotte, Aldo." You say, "Buonanotte, Anselmo." You wake Bruno gently. He gives you a look that says, "Now? After all that wine? After all that warmth?" "Yes," you say. "Now we are going." He gets up. He stretches. He follows you to the door. Anselmo opens the door for you. The cold of the night comes in. You step out. Bruno steps out behind you. The door closes. You hear the bolts slide home. You stand for a moment in the small yard of the inn. Above the village, the sky has turned. The stars have shifted. It must be near 3 in the morning. You begin to walk back down the lane, toward Valdoria, toward the cemetery. The cold is sharper now. The dampness has gone out of the air. What is left is a clean, dry cold that bites at the edges of your hands and the tip of your nose. You pull your cloak around you. You think about the silver against your chest. You think about Donna Lucia in her garden, alone now until the morning. You think about the 7 over 31 years. You think about the figure in the cemetery who has known you for 31 years, who has never come closer, who has never let you come closer. Bruno walks beside your right boot. He is tired. He is 12. But he is here. You speak to him without looking down. One more old friend, one more place to go, then home, then sleep, then morning. He bumps his nose very softly against the back of your knee. It is his way of saying, I am here. I have always been here. You walk on. The cemetery of Valdoria sits behind the church of St. Joseph on the western slope, where the ground falls toward the orchards. The wall around it is low, chest high, made of stones gathered from the same hill 200 years ago, by hands that are now in the ground inside it. The iron gate is old and never locked. The hinges complain when they are touched. The villagers say the hinges do not need oil, because the dead do not visit each other. They are wrong about that, but they say it anyway. You reach the gate, you stop. Bruno stops beside you. He is very still. He does not raise his hackles tonight. He does not growl. He has done this with you many times now. He has learned, the way you have learned, that the figure in the cemetery is not a thing one growls at. You put your hand on the iron of the gate. The cold of the iron goes through your glove. You push. The gate creaks open, a slow, unhurried creak, 2 octaves down from any sound a living thing makes. You step inside. Bruno comes with you, but he stays close to your right boot, and his pace is slower than yours, and you understand without him telling you. He will come, but he will not lead. The cemetery is full of moonlight tonight. The moon is past full, 3 nights past, and high. The stones throw long, pale shadows. The stones lean, most of them, the older ones, the ones from before the church was rebuilt. They all lean a little, toward the slope, toward the orchards, as if they have been listening for something out beyond the wall, the 200 years, and are grown tired. You walk down the central path. Your boots make almost no sound. Bruno makes none at all. You pass the small chapel of the Madonna. You pass a row of priests. You pass a row of the older families. The Carusos, the Bianchis, the Vitellis. You pass the stone of your mother. You do not stop tonight. You will stop another night. She knows. She has known for 37 years. You reach the lower wall, the far end of the cemetery where the slope falls. The newer graves are here, the graves of the 7. You do not have to look for him. You do not have to raise the lamp very high. He is there, standing by the wall, by the 3rd stone from the corner, the stone of Marca, or Matteo, the 1st, whose name you cannot quite hold anymore. He is tall, he is thin. He is wearing what he has always worn, a dark coat, dark trousers, a high collar. His face in the moonlight is the face of a man between 40 and 50, the face of a man who is not old and is not young, the face of a man who in life would have been ordinary in any village. His hands are at his sides. They are very still. You raise the lamp. He turns his head. He looks at you. His eyes catch the lamp, the way the eyes of a fox catch a lamp, pale gold, lit from within for a moment, then gone. There is no surprise in them. There is no fear. There is no hunger. There is only recognition. He has seen you before. He sees you now. He knows who you are. He is known for 31 years. You take one step forward. One. He is gone. Not run, not fallen, not faded, simply gone. The space by the third stone is empty. The shadow is empty. The moonlight falls on the stone and on the wall behind it, and there is nothing else. Bruno beside your right boot does not move. He has not moved for the last 4 minutes. You stand. You hold the lamp up. You look at the empty space. You nod once to no one, as if you had been greeted and were greeting back, as if there were a small ritual between you that had been kept tonight, the way it has been kept many nights before. Then you start to run. You run because it is what your body has always done, even now, even at 61, even with the knee that has not fully bent in a winter. The body remembers. You run down the path between the leaning stones. The lamp swings in your hand, and the light slashes against the names of the dead. On, off, on, off. Names you have known your whole life. Caruso, Bianchi, the telly. Names of your villages dead, lit and unlit as you pass. You reach the third stone. You sweep the lamp left, right. You raise it high. You look at the wall. Nothing. You look behind the stone. You look between the stones. You look at the ground, at the dirt, at the moss, at the soft earth of the most recent grave. No footprint, no trace, no sound of a retreating step. You stop. Your breath is loud, your knee is on fire. You set the lamp down on top of the third stone, and you put both your hands on your knees, the way old men do, and you breathe. Bruno comes up beside you, slow, careful. He sits, he waits. He is a watchman's dog. He has waited at the end of 100 chases. You straighten, you take the lamp again. You walk along the wall. You look, you look. There is nothing. You walk to the gate at the lower corner of the cemetery, a small half-rotted wooden gate, almost never used, that lets a grave digger out toward the orchards. The gate is closed. The latch is in place. The latch has not been touched. There is dust on the latch, undisturbed from days of dry weather. You walk back along the wall the other way, toward the church. You check every gap, every place a man might have stepped over. The frost on the top of the wall, and there is frost tonight, just a fine glittering layer, is unbroken. He has not climbed the wall. He has not gone through the gate. He has not gone anywhere a body could go. You stand again by the third stone. The stone reads, Marco Bertelli, 1804 to 1828. Beloved son, Marco. So it had been Marco after all. The name returns to you now when you read it on the stone, the way names sometimes return, too late to be useful. You stand for a long moment over the stone. You think, 31 years, 31 years of running, 31 years of arriving one breath too late. You think, I am tired. You think, I have been tired for a long time. He leans against your pocket, always does. When he wants to tell you something, he cannot tell you with words. He is telling you to stop. He is telling you, in the quiet language of dogs who have walked beside men for 30,000 years, to sit down. You walk to the low wall, the wall of stones gathered from this hill 200 years ago, by hands that are now in the ground around you. You sit on it. You pull your cloak around you. Your back finds the cold of the stone. The cold is real and useful, and here, Bruno comes and lies down beside your boot. He lays his old grey muzzle on the toe of your boot. He closes his eyes. You sit. You breathe. The chase is over. It was always going to be over. You knew that somewhere, even when you were running. You knew that 31 years ago. Even then, the wall is cold against your back. The cold of the stone that has been outside through a long autumn, with the dampness of the orchards in it and the wind off the hills. You let your shoulders fall against it. You let your weight come down into it. The wall holds you. The wall has held watchmen before you. The wall will hold watchmen after you. When the watchman is some boy you have not met yet, who is now somewhere in some house in this village, perhaps 3 years old, perhaps 8, asleep. You think about that boy. You wonder if you will know him before you go. You hope you will. You would like to give him a few things before he takes the lamp, the thermos, the bench, the rhythm, the names of the doors. You think, and then you think, not tonight. These thoughts can come another night. Tonight the work is to sit. Tonight the work is to be here. The work tonight is not the work of 40 years from now. You look up. The sky has turned a great deal in the few hours since the bell struck 11. The Pleiades are halfway down the western sky now, past the bell tower of the church, sinking toward the orchards. Orion is high. The hunter, the old Italians used to call him, the great hunter who walks across the winter sky with his dog at his heel. You look down at Bruno on your boot. You see him. You say low, up there, the hunter and his dog. He has the better dog. Forgive me, but he has the better dog. His dog is a star. Bruno makes the small sound he makes when he is half listening and half asleep. A small huff through the nose. It's all right, you say. You are still my dog, star or no star. You sit a while, just like that. You and Bruno on the cold wall. The cemetery silver around you in the moon. The village a small dark shape down the slope, with one or two lamps still burning. Anselmo's certainly. Perhaps Federico's, beginning to wake for the bread. Perhaps a widow Bianchi's, who never sleeps well. You think about Donna Lucia in her garden, alone until the morning. You think she is not alone. The roses are with her. The walls of her garden are with her. The night is with her. The watch is with her. Even now, even from this wall, with the chase over, with the figure gone, with your knee humming its old hum, the watch is still with her. That is the work. The chase is the small work. The watch is the larger work. You forget that sometimes in the running. You remember it now in the sitting. You scratch behind Bruno's ear, very gently where the grey is. He thumps his tail very softly, twice. He has fallen mostly asleep on your boot. The warmth of his old body is a small, real, present warmth. You think, this is enough. You think, this has been enough for 37 years. You sit on the wall and you think about him. You let yourself think about him in a way you have not let yourself most nights. 31 years. You think about the first night in the cemetery, when you were 30 and your knees worked and you ran. You think about the second time, 2 winters later, on the road outside the orchards, when a girl from the next village had wandered off her cart. You had not been fast enough then either. He was already gone by the time you reached the place. You think about all the other times, 20 perhaps. You have stopped counting in any precise way. You have only the rough number left. 20 times you have seen him at distance. 20 times he has turned his face toward you and recognized you and gone. He has never come closer. You have never come closer. You think, in all those years, he has not come for me. He has come for the 7. He has come for Marco, who was Matteo for an hour tonight, in your tired old head, but who was always Marco. Marco Bertelli, the shepherd's son, 24 years old, hair the colour of wheat. He has come for Sarah Vitelli, who was 38, a midwife. He has come for old Tonio, who was 66 and lived alone in the upper village. He has come for the boy from the mill, 4 years ago, whose name was Filippo. He has come for 2 others whose names you can name, and you do in your head, slowly, the way you say the names of the dead at a vigil. He has come for all 7, including Donna Lucia tonight. He has not come for me. You have asked yourself for 31 years why. You used to think it was because you were watching, that he stayed away because the watch was kept, that you were the small thing standing between him and the rest of the village, and that as long as you stood, he could only take a little, and only sometimes, and only when the watch was somewhere else. You have come slowly to think something else. You think, and you have not said this to Anselmo, because Anselmo would tell you to stop. You think that he and I have come, over the years, to know each other. You think that the first time he turned his face towards you in the cemetery, he saw something he had not seen in the village before. He saw something that saw him. He saw something that did not look away. He saw something that ran toward him, where everyone else ran from. And maybe you cannot prove it. You would not prove it to anyone. Maybe he liked it. Maybe he found it interesting. Maybe in the long hunger of his existence, the watchman at the wall was the only thing that did not flinch. So he kept the small distance. He took only 7 in 31 years. He took perhaps less than he might have. He kept his side of a small, unspoken thing between us. And I, for my part, I kept mine. I ran. I always ran. I never reached him. I never asked him to stop in any words he could have used. I only ran toward him every time with the lamp. I only said, "I see you." There is a feeling for which Italian has no word. In another language, very far from here, far from this village, far from this hill, there is a word for it. Huzun. It is not sadness exactly. It is the weight of beautiful things passing slowly. It is the love of a thing in the same breath as the loss of it. Aldo would not know that word. He has only known one country, and one war, and one village. But he carries it tonight. He has carried it for 31 years. Bruno is asleep on your boot. His breath is a small, even sound, the sound an old dog makes when he has decided that a place is safe enough to give himself to. You do not move your foot. You will not move your foot for as long as he wants it. If your foot falls asleep, you will sit with a sleeping foot until the morning. This is also part of the watch. The 1,000 small kindnesses the watch demands, that no one knows about, that only the dog knows about. You look up at Orion. The hunter has moved a little. His shoulder, the bright one, the red one, the old one, is past the corner of the bell tower now. You think, and this is a very old thought, you have had it many nights. You think that the hunter is also walking the watch. You think that the stars are all walking the watch. You think that any old man, anywhere in the world, sitting on a wall in the small hours, is walking the same watch with you. There are watches in Constantinople tonight. There are watches in Aleppo, and in Irgub, and in the villages along the Danube, and in the cities of the Maghreb, and on the ships at anchor in the harbours of all the small ports of the Mediterranean. There are watches in places where the bell rings for a different kind of hour. There are watches everywhere there is night. You are not alone in the watching. You have never been alone. You only thought you were when you were 30, and you ran in the cemetery, and you came home and slept badly, and could not tell anyone. You are not 30 anymore. You know this now. The cold of the stone has gone all the way through your back. and through your legs, and into the places where the cold goes when you are 61 and you sit on a wall in late October. You will be sore tomorrow. The bones will tell you about it. You will lie in your bed with the small grey light coming through the shutter, and the bones will give you their report. You will listen, the way you listen to old soldiers at the inn, when they tell you the same stories they told you last week, with patience, with a small private smile, with a love that does not need to be said. You let your eyes close for just a moment, not for long. Watchmen do not close their eyes for long, but for a moment. The sound is the wind in the orchards, very far, the breath of an old dog on your boot, the small ticking of the cooling stones in the wall behind you, the sound also of nothing, the good nothing, the nothing that is the village asleep, and the night holding, and no further footstep needed before the bell. You open your eyes again. The stars have moved a little. Time has done its small, honest work. You are still here. Bruno is still here. Doria is still here. In the eastern sky, very low. So low you have to look past the stones of the cemetery to see it. There is a thinning of the dark. Not yet light, not yet the first true grey of the morning, but a thinning, a weakening of the night, in the place where the morning will come from. The hills hold the blackness. The sky above them is one shade less black than it was an hour ago. You know this thinning. You have watched it happen perhaps 10,000 times. There is no hour you know better. In 1 hour, perhaps a little more, the bell tower will strike 4. In another hour, Federico will be in his bakery, and the smell of the bread will start. In another hour after that, the first grey light will reach Donna Lucia's garden, and a neighbour will walk past her gate, and the neighbour will see, and there will be running, and there will be a cry, and the village will wake, the way a village wakes when it loses one of its old women. You will not be there for the finding. You will be home by then. You will be in your small narrow bed, with the cloak over the chair and the boots by the door, and Bruno on the rug at the foot of the bed. You will be asleep, the deep, dreamless sleep of a man who has done his work. In the morning, when you wake, you will go to Donna Lucia's house. You will help dig her grave. You will say what one says to a family, to the priest, to the village. You will be the watchman for one more day, in the daylight. In the quiet way the watchman is the watchman, in the daylight. But that is the morning's work. That is not now. Now is the wall, and Bruno on your boot, and the thinning in the eastern sky. You think one more thing before you go. You think about the figure by the third stone, and the way he had turned his face toward you, and the way his eyes had caught the lamp. You think about the small nod you had given him before you began to run. The nod that was not a greeting and not a farewell, but a kind of acknowledgement. the nod of one watchman to another, across a long border that neither will cross. You think, and this is new, this thought. This has not come to you before in 31 years. You think that he too was tired tonight. You think that there had been something in his face for the half second your lamp held him that had not been there before. A weariness, a length of years on him in his eyes that you had not seen before when you were 30 and your eyes were sharper. You think he is also old. You think even a thing that does not die, perhaps a thing that does not die, perhaps such a thing grows tired, perhaps after long enough, even such a thing wishes for a wall, and a dog at its boot, and a thinning in the eastern sky. You will not say this to Anselmo. Anselmo would have a long, careful answer for it. You will keep this one to yourself. You scratch Bruno's ear very gently, where the grey is. He huffs. He does not wake. You sit. The thinning in the east grows by a small amount. The watch holds. The bell of St. Joseph strikes 4. You hear it through the wall behind you, through the stones that have heard every bell of this village for 200 years. The strikes are slower than they were at 11. Or perhaps it is only that you are slower, and the night is older, and everything weighs a little more in the small hours. You count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th strike dies. The cemetery is silent again. The village is silent. The orchards are silent. You let the silence hold you for a long moment. Then, slowly with all the small old sounds, you stand. Bruno opens his eyes. He looks up at you. His muzzle has a small dent in it where it has been resting on your boot. Andiamo, amico mio, you say. Casa. He gets up. He stretches his old legs. He shakes himself. He waits for you to lead. You take the lamp. You turn it down a little. There is enough light in the eastern sky now that the lamp is more habit than need. You and Bruno walk together through the cemetery toward the gate, past the stones of the old families, past the row of priests, past the small chapel of the Madonna, past the stone of your mother, where you stop very briefly and put your hand on the cold, rough top of it. Buongiorno, mamma, you say, the way you have said it on 1,000 mornings. You walk on. You reach the iron gate. You step through. You close it behind you. The hinge complains, the small old complaint. You walk down the lane toward the village. Bruno walks at your right boot, where he has walked his whole life. The lamp swings a little. Your knee complains, your back complains. The bones give their full report, all of it. The whole long catalogue of a body that has done its work for a long time. You listen to all of it. You walk on. At the edge of the square you stop. You look back just once toward Donna Lucia's lane. You cannot see her gate from here. You only know it is there. Riposa vecchia amica, you say very low. The morning is near. You walk to the small fire by the bell tower. The fire has burned almost out. There are good red coals still, but no flame. You will not lay another piece. You will let it die honestly, the way you let the night die. You set the lamp on the bench. You sit just for a moment. Bruno lies down on the warm stones beside the grate. You pour the last of the tea from the thermos into the small cup. There is not much. It is barely warm now. You drink it anyway. You watch the eastern sky. The thinning has become a true greying. The hills are beginning to show their shapes. The stars near the horizon have already gone. You think another night. You think the watch holds. You sit, you breathe. The cold has gone deep into you, and a little of the warmth of the tea pushes back. Somewhere in the village, a single shutter opens. Somewhere, perhaps a bakery, almost certainly the bakery. A small lamp comes on. The world begins again, the way it always begins, in the small lamps coming on one by one. In the kitchens of those who wake first, you close your eyes, just for a moment. Bruno's breath beside you, the fire, the bell tower, the stones of the watch. The shift ends. Aldoria is safe tonight. Sleep now, watchman. The morning is near. Aldo on the bench, Bruno at his boot, the tea almost gone, the fire low, the eastern sky beginning to grey. They can rest now, you can rest now. That was a long story, more than an hour. Maybe you fell asleep somewhere in the middle of it. Maybe you stayed all the way through, sat with Aldo on that cemetery wall in the moonlight, found yourself a small place inside his thoughts. Whichever you did, that was what your night needed. That's enough. Thank you for staying with me this far. Most of the time when I'm telling a story like this, I don't know who's listening. I see some of you in the numbers, a few of you in the comments. That's all. The rest of you are silent. And your silence is good. You're here anyway. I'm here too. The thing I thought about longest with this story, while I was writing it, and now while I'm telling it, is what Aldo has learned over 31 years. The watch is not about fighting. The watch is about carrying something. He cannot reach the figure. He never will. He knows this in his 31st year. And still he runs. Still he goes to the cemetery. Still he raises the lamp. Because the work is not to chase him. The work is to stand in front of the village. And in doing that, over 31 years, the two of them have come to know each other. Not friends, not exactly enemies anymore either. Something else. I think of it in my own head as a small unspoken thing between them. And I think most of what we call enemies in our own lives becomes something like that, given enough time. An old fear, a bad habit, a part of ourselves we don't quite like, We don't defeat them. We build something with them, a distance, a kind of respect. They learn our edge, we learn theirs. That's what Aldo has done. That may be what most of us spend our lives doing. Then there's Bruno. He's the quietest hero of this story, I think. Aldo never married. He has no children. His parents are long gone. The only living thing he speaks to every night is an old dog, 12 years old, stiff, his muzzle gone grey. When you look at a life, sometimes the deepest conversations in it are like that. Wordless, just presence. Aldo is Aldo because Bruno has been at his boot. Every small choice that made him who he is. Bruno was there for it. That's why I gave the dog so much room in this story. One sentence about Donna Lucia. We knew her briefly tonight, but I think we knew her enough. In her garden, the white braid down her back, the last roses on the canes. The death in this story is not an event. It's a passage. Aldo covers her, closes a gate, keeps the dogs away until morning. The watch continues even over the dead. A village's dead are not theirs alone. They belong to the village. Someone has to stand watch beside them too. And finally, the tiredness in the figure's eyes. That came at the end of the writing, not at the start. It just arrived. Maybe that's a real thing this story wanted to say. Even something that doesn't die, even that gets tired. Maybe none of us are in a hurry in the long run. Maybe everyone eventually wants to sit on a wall and breathe. Aldo, Bruno, the figure too. Maybe us also. Vampire Crawlers. I played it tonight for the first time. I'd been reading about it for the last few weeks. Steam reviews, Reddit impressions, a couple of YouTube videos. And tonight, we tried it together. A few things I can say. Most of what people had told me turned out to be true. The pixel art is genuinely beautiful. The spirit of vampire survivors is in it, but quieter, slower, dark but inviting. The Italian countryside hits right. Stone walls, old oaks, a church under the moon. And tonight, that gave our story a foundation too. You can feel Yoko Shimomura's hand on the music, melancholic but not crushing. It runs in the background, doesn't fight the story, carries it instead. Most reviews I read praised the music, and after tonight, I'm with them. Mechanically, this is a fast game. Cards come fast, decisions come back to back. Steps on the grid come quickly. The energy of the vampire survivors world is here, just packaged differently. Turn-based deck builder this time. That actually makes for an interesting balance with what we do. The game is fast, I'm slow. 2 tempos in the same video. I think it works. Steam has it at 95% positive. 6,000 plus reviews. After tonight, I'd add my own quiet voice to that number. Will I come back to this game? I will. Maybe with another story. Maybe with another character. Another night. A game like Vampire Crawlers doesn't end in one night. Like The Watch. One small thing I want to ask you. This channel is still very new. I choose the games, I write the stories, but there might be something in your head too. Maybe there's a game you've genuinely been curious about, one that hasn't been told as a night yet. Maybe a kind of story, a lost passenger on the ship, a soldier coming home after a war, an old watchmaker who watches the stars. Maybe a world more familiar or less. If you write it in the comments, I read it. I read all of them. Every concept suggestion goes into a notebook for me, and one night, one of them might become a story. Maybe yours. If this story did something for you tonight, helped you sleep, or kept you company while you didn't, a subscribe to the channel, a like on this video would mean a lot to me. This is a small channel. Every subscriber, every like, is one small light more. It helps another sleepless person somewhere find this quiet place. And tell me in the comments, where are you tonight? What hour does your clock say? When I wake up in the morning, I read them, knowing that someone is in Tokyo at noon, someone in Texas in the middle of the night, someone in Cairo finishing their day. For me, that's the best part of any of this. None of us are alone. It's only that we forget most of the time. I'm going to keep playing now, quietly. Vampire Crawlers isn't done. There are more rooms, more cards, more to find. If you want to stay and watch, turn the volume down, lean back, let it play. If you want to leave it on and fall asleep, that's good too. If you're already asleep, good night, friend. The morning is near. For Aldo, for you. I'll see you in the next night. Sleep well and keep the